Welcome back to CBS Soap Dish Recap, where we recap everything CBS soaps, both the young and the restless, and the bold and the beautiful. And this is your bold and the beautiful recap for August 22nd. And look like we had a couple of contentious situations in this episode between Thomas and Hope, Brooke and Taylor, and this whole thing with Deacon's parole officer and Sheila Carter. But before we unpack all of this, take a second to make sure you're subscribed to this channel for all updates, and don't forget to like and share. So let's talk about this. So it starts out where we see Brooke having a conversation about crisis mode Hope, because she is still in circles about this whole thing with Douglas not leaving her home. Now, of course, we got Brooke taking her side, saying that he belongs with you, he does not belong with them. And the reason that all of this is happening is not because Thomas really wants his son. She thinks it's because of the fact that Taylor is the one that's probably feuding this thing to come in between her and Ridge. Really? She's using her grandson to come in between you. You didn't say that when you tried to keep Douglas quiet, to keep that whole thing with Deacon coming out. Go figure. But she decided that she's going to fix this situation. So she leaves Hope, runs out, and heads over to Taylor. And of course, she's excited with the look in Hope's face, as if her mom is just going to change the world all of a sudden. Now, we do see Thomas come in, and Thomas comes over to pick up Douglas because they have one little overnight stay. And she's freaking out even over the one overnight stay, because she feels that Thomas obviously wants more than just the one night. And so, of course, he did confirm that. He told her that, yeah, he's my son. I need to step up. It's not about me taking anything from you. It's more about the fact of me stepping up and doing what I need to do to be a father. He wasn't even there yet. And of course, now Thomas is upset, but Hope did, kind of calm things to let them know that the pizza wasn't done over his little friend's house. And so they're going to be delayed, which gave them the opportunity to have some conversation. But this thing got real messy. And here's the hypocritical thing about all of this. Just say Steffi had Beth for a long period of time, raising that kid as her own for, a period of time. Should she have just kept on to Beth, even though that's Hope's child, because that's where Beth's home originally was? But she's not looking at it that way. Hope wants what Hope wants, and Brooke doesn't mind to make sure that they get what they want, no matter the fact that it doesn't make any sense. But, this going back and forth is absolutely ridiculous. How can you say that he shouldn't live with his son when you demanded Steffi to turn your daughter Beth over to you? So now we're over at Eric's house. And so we actually got to see Donna back on screen again. We haven't seen her in a while since the whole Quinn breaking up the wedding debacle and finding out that, Eric was cheating. So while they're having a little cute private moment, the Forresters dropped by, meaning Ridge and Thomas. And then, of course, Taylor was there as well, because everybody is excited about the fact that Eric is happy that, Thomas is coming to stay there, and also bringing his great-grandson over to the house. And I was surprised, because it seems like, Donna seems pretty cool with everything. But we see in this moment where Taylor is gushing over the fact of the progress that Thomas has made since all that stuff happened about 3 years ago. And, he thanked her. She's proud of him. All of the great sentiments, to say the least. But on the way out, there was this little cozy moment between Taylor and Ridge that had Donna and Eric looking at them with a side eye. So speaking of Brooke going over to Taylor's, she shows up and goes into this whole thing on guard. And she was, very calm. So calm that it was confusing to Taylor. Was like, you actually knocked? And you're actually calm? What's got into you, Brooke? But she comes over there to, first of all, confront her about the kiss in Monaco and how it's all Taylor's fault and how Taylor is the one that kissed her husband. No, Brooke. Ridge already told you that they kissed each other. It was both of them. But she want to make this all about Taylor. So at this point, we hear Taylor say, you know what, Brooke, let's just take a seat. Yeah, sit down and let's have a conversation. So then it turns into this whole thing about kissing her husband in Monaco to, of course, Taylor saying that, she wants the best for Ridge. She wants Ridge to be happy. He's happy with his kids. And Brooke was like, his kids don't need him. His grandkids don't need him. You need him. And she came back, meaning Taylor was like, oh, I don't need him, but I want him. And I know that that had everybody kind of shook when she said that, because we've seen the nice side of Taylor, but now we got a little bit of petty right now. But anywho, these two go back and forth, and then it leads into the conversation about Thomas and Douglas. And she was like, Thomas shouldn't have to take Douglas from my daughter's household. And, Taylor was like, you mean my grandson, right? And I'm like, Brooke, how are you going to tell her about her own grandson? He deserves to be with his father. So we'll see more about that later. So finally, we got this whole situation with Deacon. His parole officer is knocking at the door. Sheila is freaking out. Sheila don't want him to answer the door. He's like, I gotta answer the door because he's doing his, routine check. So they all, freaking out. The guy is trying to get in. Finally, we see where she goes and run off into the bathroom, right? So he conceals her. Sheila disappears into the bathroom. Sheila drops something, as we hear later on. But the parole officer is wondering, like, what the heck is going on? You took too long to answer the door. Are you hiding something? And he was like, no, I'm good. I've been on the straight and narrow. And he was like, you're my best parolee. You're doing good. And so, we had this little back and forth with the parole officer and Deacon about, his little check-in questions per se. Now, while all of that is happening, as I mentioned earlier, we have, of course, Sheila in the bathroom drop something. And of course, that makes the guy suspicious. That freaks out everybody. And then she puts on this masquerading type voice, trying to say, oh, is that your parole officer? I'm sorry, I'm in the tub, I could. And I know he was like, meaning Deacon, like, oh my God, this is about to blow up. And the parole officer was like, wait a minute, you got a woman in there? Who is this woman? Do we need to check her out? You can't be affiliated with somebody without a record. Does she have a record? And it was so funny. And I know that's what they were trying to accomplish with this. But honestly, it kind of switched because the parole officer, he got a phone call from his son's school, which means that the conversation with Deacon had to end because he had to run off and take care of his kid. And of course, I know Deacon was happy about that, but he changed his tune and said, well, if you got a new woman in your life, maybe that's the best thing for you. Maybe that's a great thing for you. You need something in your life. So if that's the case, you know what? Make the best of it. And I know Sheila was up in there cracking up because, number one, her plan worked when she masqueraded her voice. And number two, she's like, yeah, you need me. So she came out the bathroom feeling vindicated from all of this. And Deacon is not happy with her. He wants her gone. Now, we see this conversation that she's like, hey, I could stay here and make it all worthwhile. Or maybe we need to get back in that bed and make some things happen. And Deacon wasn't hearing it. He wants her gone. So then the conversation of why did she even come back here? She should have headed for the border, which technically I think that would have been smarter. But honestly, you know, she's like, I want to be close to my son and my grandson. And he's like, them kids are better off without you, sweetie. And of course, she didn't want to hear that, you know, which he still was like, nope, get your stuff and get out. Well, she threw another curveball about all this ton of cash that she has and how she wanted to ask him, you know what? I got money. I got a lot of money. And just name your price, write it down, and we got this. And he was like, how much money you got? Which, of course, at this point, Sheila realized that, you know what? She put an offer on the table that it seems like he cannot refuse. So that's one thing about sex and money. It can really get you in trouble. So, you know what? They're saying that Sheila and Deacon is going to really bring some hilarious situations because their alliance is kind of weird. So we got to stay tuned. So I hope you enjoyed this Bold and the Beautiful recap for Monday, August 22nd, 2022. If you haven't checked out the Young and the Restless recap as well for today, go over there and check that out. And until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you soon. Bye.